soon as Courtney pulled out from the berm, we were kind of in a dug-in berm. We pulled out, and no shit, man, there they are, just T-55s. And I mean, it's not like I was seeing silhouettes. I'll tell you this: I was seeing their main gun fire and their 12.7 on there. What are they? Are they Type 63s or the troop carriers? They're like kind of boxy, but not as high as like the 113. But their machine guns going off. I mean, it was just like we just rolled out like into a turkey shoot, and we were the turkey kind of thing. So,
but along the border there, you guys had observer teams out made up of Anglico and Recon Marines, and I think there was also a SEAL platoon that was out there as well. So you guys were all strung out along the border in different observation positions. Is that correct?
Yeah. There was they had these forts along their border. And I don't know what the mission of those forts were, if they were even still being used, because we didn't use ours because they kept hitting them. But so what they were was, we had teams, and like you said, there was different size teams. I know when I got up to the OP, Colonel Grubb was rotating all of our FOs up there. That's when the artillery raids started. They started doing, we were getting shot at probably every night. I think it was after we started dropping bombs on them that they'd start shooting their like Frog 7s or MLSs. They'd use their Scuds for like, Israel and Riyadh, the bigger populated places, but we were catching Frog 7s. So we were up there and we were observing, and the teams, the way they were set up, my team I had replaced a guy, Gunny Nelson, and I don't know who else was with him up there. And that guy's another great dude too. He was up there for a few days ahead of us, and they were controlling air, because air would come up, and they were actually, shooting live targets, because it was, by that, now it's war. We declared war, I think, on the 17th. When I got up there, it turned out to be we had 2 Force Reconnaissance Marines from 4th Force out of Mobile, Alabama. With us, 2 SEALs stayed, and they were basically just as communicators. And then it is our makeshift FIC. It was me. They took crews back to the D-cell plant behind there. But so basically we had like 8 guys on the OP. And then I know OP, so we were in the water OP, we're OP 8. And OP 7, which was a few clicks to our west, they had, I think, a bigger setup with soldiers. Like we didn't have any soldiers. They had SF guys with them. And then they actually, I think, occupied that building. I was only so much concerned about me and 7 because we were watching the actual main highway from Kuwait into Saudi Arabia. Then you had just recon Marines manning some of these OPs. Like Lieutenant Ross, he had a recon team down there. So there was these teams all the way through there. I don't know how they were doing it, but I know Anglico, we were rotating them. So we can get some live controls, basically. We left the building because they kept shooting at the building. So we pulled back about 100 meters behind, and we found a little bit bigger hill that we could pile rocks up and sandbags that we had, so that we could see above we could see them. But you had troops in the open. You had guys. We were watching guys watching us. There was tanks out there. There was. I didn't see them, but we knew we ended up killing them because of the BDA that was found later on. But and I think OP7 is the one that schwacked them. But it was like a 152 millimeter battery. You're already hearing rumblings. You're hearing vehicles, and you know how far vehicles, how they sound in the desert, and you're just hearing them out there. We had our whole system set up for Mule. We were running it with the night vision on it, the big thermal sight on it, and so you would see that stuff at night. Because we didn't have a lot of cool gadgets like they do now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, we're spoiled now.
Anytime an aircraft would come up, it would be like, hey, they're checking on station because they're coming back. And if they didn't drop, like a deep air support mission, they had their bombs on them. So the first thing we'd ask them is, what's your load? They'd tell us and how much time you got on station. So good to go. So we get to run those guys. So we were pissing them off. You know what I mean? We're killing some of their guys. They shot a loom over our OP. I'll tell you another story here shortly, but OP7 was killing a lot of guys too. Because Captain Kleinsmith and Calhoun and Tigger Foss, those guys were like smoking a lot of shit out there because they had a great view out there too, and they were rolling right in front of them, so they were killing a lot of stuff. But anyway, so we were getting to them, and then on the morning of the 29th, Butchie, my radio operator, is like, I hear him yell, "Kiff, Kiff," and Kiff is stopped, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? And go running out with my weapon, and I've fucking got a blanket over me, like those wool blankets from the ship, the gray ones, but I cut a hole in it, so I had it over me like a serape, and I had my gear, my H harness around me. So I go running up with them, and I'm like looking at these dudes, and there's 3 Iraqis, man, walked right up to our OP in tanker
Oh,
suits.
whoa, no way.
They were shaved. They were clean. I mean, they smell like cologne. And we were out there for a couple of days. We smelled like ass. We pulled maps off them. They had our OP they had ROP. They had other targets, but I specifically saw ROP, and I'm like, hey, sir, they're targeting us, these guys. And as soon as we got them, the SEALs came and took them away from us. And as soon as we got those guys away from us, a round went off. It was like that quick. It went boom, boom. It was a tank. I had fired around and hit the berm in front of us. And we're all looking for like a smoke signal or, like some sort of trail of something. Didn't see shit. And I was like, well, so they knew where we were.
I was told it was a company of Iraqi armor that had pulled up to the line. You guys had no idea that was there?
No, it wasn't a company. It was actually, if you look at it, it was 5th Mechanized Brigade. What their intent was, they've been building up over the time. Now, I've been up there since the 27th. And remember, I was telling you, we hear these motors and everything. So we had an inkling, but we weren't sure what they were doing. Were they setting up a defense? You know what I mean? I had no inkling that they were coming over at all. I mean, and then we started hearing, and I'm going to be very honest with you, though, too. Complacency, it kills. You know what I'm saying? And we were up there for a couple of days. We're already dropping bombs. We know we're getting these guys. Our how do you say? Our confidence is really high. We start hearing now real loud rumbling. So Lieutenant Lang's talking to Captain Kleinsmith. They're talking back and forth. Hey, you guys hear this? You hear this? And we're like, yeah, fucking. It's starting to get a little, sketchy now because it's a lot of that creaking sound of the, you hear
that
mechanized. It's just, exactly. And you're hearing that shit for miles, and you're like, but you ain't seen shit. And we had our thermal sights set up, and I was like, hey, well, let's go ahead and start tearing this down. I said, because this is going to be a bitch to unload kind of thing, if we have to scoot. And then we started hearing about OPs getting hit at the far end, like the west, like at the elbow and shit. So we're like, okay, they're hitting people now. We are 8 guys at the time, no heavy machine guns. Just I think the recon Bubba's had an M60 with them. I think that was it. There were 2 of them up front. And there's 2 of them up front, I'm sorry, and there's 2 of them in the back. So there was 8 of them. There was 10 of us up there, I believe. There might have been 4 SEALs, but I only seen 2. And the lieutenant says, hey, can we get some air out here? Start pushing air out to us. And they're like, be advised, all assets are over to they were being pushed to the guys that were in contact. So we're like, fuck, man. All right, so we start tearing it down, and then they come back on. They say, because we're getting ready to scoot. Like I said, we were going to call in as best we could, but we were going to scoot. And then he got a call. Hey, I remember it. General Boomer's dedicated all air to you guys tonight. Stay in your OP. So we're like, fucking A. All right, so we set everything back up. Now, I've set everything back up thinking, okay, we're just going to be getting air, stacked on air, and we're just going to be controlling this shit. And we're going to be here until the lieutenant said untenable. I didn't know what that meant at the time. I don't remember what time it was, but it was dark. And all of a sudden, I see the lieutenant's up because everybody hears it. Courtney's down by the vehicle now. He's sitting in the vehicle. Or he's prepping it or doing something with it. I know, but Butchie and me were up on the top of the hill there, and with the lieutenant, and the recon Bubba's just come flying past. I mean, they're running. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I'm like, you can't hear shit. It's really loud. And he's like, all I heard and all I seen in his face was tracks. And he's like, his fucking eyes are just huge. And he goes running right past us. Mm-hmm. And they went down their Humvee, and it was they were gone. And then as soon as he said that, I turned back. So I was watching. I turned back around, and fucking 12.7 gun. You could just see it start to fire as it came in an arch, and it was on a tank, and it just started firing. And it started raking our OP. And the lieutenant was just putting in. He's just got he was just on the LDRM, so he just moved, swiveling it over, and that fucker came up right in front of him. So it's right there, you know what I'm saying? That's the LDRM. I told Butch, you just tell him we're being overran, and you can hear kind of the transmissions. And he sounds really calm. I remember, man, I was like, you're stuck there. You're looking at basically this fan. It's like a ceiling full of tracers over your head, and you're trying to scoot down this little hill, and they're fucking shooting at us and whatnot. And get down to the Humvee, get out. As soon as we pulled out, the SEALs were gone. They boned out. And the recon Bubba's boned out. As soon as Courtney pulled out from the berm, we were kind of in a dug-in berm. We pulled out, and no shit, man, there they are, just T-55s. And, I mean, it's not like I was seeing silhouettes. I'll tell you this. I was seeing their main gun fire and their 12.7 on there. What are they? Are they Type 63s or the troop carriers? They're like kind of boxy, but not as high as like the 113. But their machine guns going off. I mean, it was just like we just rolled out like into a turkey shoot, and we were the turkey kind of thing. So we're bouncing around and get back to the desalination plant. And as soon as we get back to the desalination plant, we're thinking, okay, this is, even Butchie said it later. I said, and the lieutenant, we thought we were going to link up with these guys, and it was going to be like kind of like the Alamo, because we knew when you're only so many guys, and then suddenly you triple that, you know what I mean? You feel like you got a lot of people with you.
I feel a little better about the situation.
Everybody's bugging out towards Khafji, and I have no clue as to where we're headed. We end up in the safe house area in Khafji that I had never been to. So it was like kind of new to me, but it's set up like apartments with a square parking lot kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they're breaking windows, and we're getting into this building, and it was set up, and everybody's in there, and they're talking, and then the lieutenant colonel he's like, hey, I want 2 people in that tower. And it's a pretty famous tower now in the video, but it's like, put 2 people up there. And I'm like telling the lieutenant, hey man, we don't need to go to the tower. We can see if we just get on one of these mosques or one of these higher buildings. You don't need to be in the highest fucking building. He's like, he knew, you know what I mean? The look on his face, he knew, but he's like, okay. So they went up there, and meanwhile, I'm trying to keep track of my team. So this is kind of that fog of war thing now, because you got your 2 officers took off to the tower, which you don't really know how to get to. You just know it's there. You can see it. It's kind of like that little maze game you play, but playing it from this level, like walking into a corn maze kind of thing. So, and then I got one of the funniest things though is Marines are fucking awesome, because Courtney, he's down there, and he's like, hey, LZ, look what I got. He's got a law, and it's already been fucking pulled out, right? And I was like, where'd you get that? And he goes, I traded somebody for a grenade. He gave him a hand grenade, and they gave him the law. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. That's, he's out there willing to, hey, he's got to have something to shoot at these fuckers, right?
Yeah, for real. So I'd be glad to have one at that point.
Right? So I was pretty, even you're thinking about that, you're like, fuck yeah, this is pretty cool, man. It's not cool, but it's cool because they're keeping their heads about it. Guys were.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty overwhelming force. So next thing you know, Colonel Barry again, hey, he says, mount up, we're leaving the city kind of thing. So I'm fucking trying to get everybody together. And vehicles are just punching out now. I mean, it's kind of like on your own kind of thing. They're going out, the exit, making that left and hitting out through the arches kind of thing. And I run up in front of Lieutenant Colonel Barry's vehicle. I'm like, hey, stop. I was like, I got to go get my officers. And he's like, where are they? I go, I'm in the tower. And he goes, what the fuck are they doing in the tower? I just remember I go, you fucking sent them there. And that was it. He's like, follow me. He's like, he had enough of me. He's like, follow me. So he fucking rolls up. And the tower starts taking shots anyway. So now